Howdy, this is James Stadden with Lenspiration. Welcome to making the most of your vacation at Welton Falls, New Hampshire. Today we're going to talk about 5 steps to capturing the smooth water effect. Have you ever seen pictures like this? Where the water appears smooth and silky, or even milky? I love this effect not only because it adds extra beauty and order or shape to an image, but because it makes the picture look less like a snapshot. There's no doubt that this effect gives pictures a professional touch. And why is this? For one thing, it's because this effect cannot be achieved with just any old camera. You can't just snapshot this effect. So that's what we're going to learn today. I'm going to show you how to get this effect in 5 easy steps here at Welton Falls. And it really doesn't take that much extra time once you know how to do it. Number 1, this is probably the first step with any picture that you take, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the smooth water effect. But still, before you take any picture, whether it has smooth water or not, make sure that you, number 1, consider your composition. Finding a good angle is the first step in taking any good picture. And because we're here at a waterfall, for waterfalls specifically, don't include any sky. The eye is attracted to what is bright. The waterfall is bright, but the sky will be brighter. So if you keep the sky cropped out, you will have a more compelling image. Look for and include eddies in the pools below the fall, where fall leaves swirl around, and over the long exposure, it'll make a nice swirling effect. Make sure that the top of the falls is unobstructed. You know where the water's coming from. It's a point where the eye can anchor in the picture. Simplify the composition as much as possible. Hide debris. Remove anything that you can to make the images uncluttered. Use a polarizing filter. I like to use polarizing filters to cut the glare in the water, in the pools. And as much as I can, I try to include elements in the foreground to lead your eye deeper into the scene. Step number 1 for any picture, consider your composition. But now specifically for the silky water, smooth water effect, step number 2 is find a sturdy platform. Once I find an angle I like, I will set up my tripod, and I take the tripod almost everywhere I go. A steady platform is necessary for this effect. If you don't bring a tripod along with you, don't worry about it. Just use a rock or guardrails or a log or something like that are in the area. Step number 3, switch to the shutter speed priority mode. In shutter priority mode, I'm in control of the shutter speed, but the camera will take care of the aperture for you. But the aperture is the only control that it will take care of. I'm still responsible to set all the other camera settings properly. And I don't have time to talk about all those other settings. But you can learn about those in my free ebook, 10 Camera Settings Every Photographer Should Know Instinctively, and I talk about those 10 different settings. For starters, set the ISO as low as it can go, the metering mode to evaluative, exposure compensation to 0, drive mode to 2-second timer. That's what I normally start with whenever I start taking pictures of the silky water. Step number 4, use a shutter speed of 1/10 of a second or slower. And that's why you need a tripod or something stable to set the camera on. Because you're in control of the shutter speed, you can set it to 1/10 of a second or slower. Feel free to make it longer. The longer it's open, the more flowing effect it will create. So then, step number 5, the last step, check for blown out highlights. And this is a very important step. Once you've taken a picture, check your screen for blown out highlights or areas that are completely white. I do this by enabling highlight alert on my camera. That's what Canon calls it. If I see blown out highlights in my image, in the water, in the falls, there's one of 2 reasons why. First, it could be that the camera is metering the scene incorrectly. And all you need to do is change the exposure compensation to a negative number, like -2/3 or -1, or just however far you need to go to get the highlights from blowing out. However, if that doesn't work, secondly, it could be that it's just too much light for the camera to handle. On a bright sunny day, if the sun is directly on the falls, in this situation, the aperture will start blinking at you. You set the shutter speed to 1/10 of a second. If that aperture is still blinking at you, more likely than not, that picture is going to be way too bright. In this second scenario, there's not much you can do. You can make your shutter speed faster than 1/10 of a second, but the problem with that is it would not really be capturing the flowing water effect too well. You could use an ND filter, and I like to use ND filters when I'm shooting flowing water in the sunlight. It's like putting sunglasses on the end of the lens. Or you could just wait for a cloudy day. When the sun is not out, that's usually when I go to the waterfalls. So there you have it, 5 easy steps for how to take pictures of the flowing water effect. Now you know the camera settings, now you know the camera knowledge for being able to capture flowing water effect. In review, consider your composition, find a steady platform, switch to shutter speed priority mode, use a shutter speed that's slower than 1/10 of a second, or 1/10 of a second, and then check to make sure you don't have too many blown out highlights in your image. You don't have to be photographing a waterfall to capture this effect. Just try it at the kitchen faucet. The more you practice at home, the more you'll be ready for when you are on that vacation to add a professional touch to your pictures. Thanks for watching. This is James with Lenspiration, making the most of your vacation at Welton Falls, New Hampshire. www.lenspiration.com. We're always adding more material there. See you next time.